Hi guys, welcome to the gun shop, and today we're going to be looking at 28 bore cartridges. We have a selection here to show you. We're going to talk a little bit about the history, the ballistics, and then we'll go and shoot one. And then we'll come back here to discuss it. That works. We happy that works? Yeah, we're happy that works. So in front of us we have a selection of cartridges, but first we'll start with the technical specification. A normal bore diameter of a 28 gauge, depending where you are, is 0.550 of an inch, which is roughly 3/4 of the diameter of a 12 bore, which, I mean, it looks about half the size, but it's not, it's about 3/4 of the size. There's a bit of a story in America that Parker invented the 28 bore in 1903, but that is not true. I think the earliest records I could find with a little bit of searching actually belongs to Ely, who certainly registered it as a pinfire cartridge. Pinfire being centre fire in the back, pinfire came in through the top, and I think I've actually got some somewhere. And that is well back into the 1800s. The earliest listing that I could really find was about 1880s, early 1880s, and that was for a true centre fire 28 bore from Kynoch. The standard was 2.5 inches. However, I believe Parker really thrust the 2 3/4 in, and maybe that's where their myth came from. Load workouts. We have here 16, 18, 21, 23, 25 and 28 grams, or many different fractions of an ounce. As far as I can tell, and as far as I've always been taught, the 21 gram, the 3/4 ounce load is the most efficient. It being 3/4 of an ounce, this being 3/4 of the size of a 12 bore, the ounce load being the perfect 12 bore load, potentially for pattern, and most ballisticians will probably agree with me, although there'll be plenty out there who don't. Ballistically, a 28 gram being the perfect load for a 12 bore, a 21 gram is the perfect load for that. The whole 3/4 thing, I've only just sort of kind of realised that. So we'll talk about these different cartridges quickly and work our way through. The Imperial Game by Hull, the light load old side-by-side cartridge. Imperial Game is Hull cartridge's classic load, if you like, and it's a really nice lightweight cartridge. Yes, you are probably going up against the 410 class here when you're shooting a 16 gram load, but that's fine. It is for training, let's say, for older guns you don't want to wear out, and if you're going to shoot some relatively close range pheasants, then why not take a 16? Great for youngsters because there is literally no recoil whatsoever. The 18 gram Game and Clay, a little bit more charge, a little bit more speed from the Game and Clay over the Imperial Game, and that's 18 grams. Both of these are 65mm cases. Then you have the Express, a 65mm 21 gram. All these companies make a 21 gram, this is just what I had to hand. So the 21 gram is a great load. It's probably the best mixture of zero recoil with a bit of killing power behind it. You have the Hull High Pheasant 23 gram. 23 gram is what Hull reckons is the optimum maximum load for a 28 bore. They don't make anything bigger than 23 gram because they say this patterns well enough to kill birds at long enough ranges. They do this in a 7, a 6 and a 5. Pure Gold and Regal. Pure Gold doesn't exist. It is now called Regal, but I had a box of Pure Gold downstairs in 25 and 28 grams. A lot of the cartridge companies will say that 28 gram load, an ounce load, is too much to put through a 28 bore without the patterns potentially being less good and without punishing yourself as a result of the lightweight gun. In reality, actually, they're not that punchy. In reality, actually, they're made slower to counteract that thing. So, you know, in recoil, they're probably about the same as these 25s. Check them on paper though first with your chokes, and I certainly wouldn't go putting this through a full or 3/4 choke. I'll probably keep my chokes down to about a half and half if using a heavy load through a 28 bore. On the whole, the caliber sits between the popular calibers of 410 and 20 bore. 410s generally are considered harder guns to shoot. You know, an 18 gram load in a 410 is a heavy load. Most sort of work between about 11 and 14 grams. You are fighting against yourself there just through sheer lack of volume of pellets. So when most people start shooting, they give their child a 410. Actually, if you gave a 410 to a competent shot, their scores would go down. So 28 kind of opens up the top end 410 all the way to a bottom end 12 bore. It is almost the perfect introductory caliber. Yes, unfortunately, unlike a 20 bore, you can't get crazy heavy loads. You can't get a 34 gram 4.5 and really start taking high birds, but if you're average pheasant, I'd say a 28 bore is also more than acceptable. As a quick aside, it's worth mentioning that if you're going to put heavy loads through your gun, you almost need to buy the best quality, or certainly probably the most expensive, but ergo the best quality shell you can. Otherwise you can suffer from over compressions. I won't name any names, but there's certain companies in their 28 gram loads, the cartridges will almost rip apart because they're shoving so much into a cartridge. Or alternatively, you just buy 21, 23 or 25 gram and realise what a 28 bore is for. So, this little pop gun, as most people will call it, you know, people will deride you for playing with a 28 bore quite often if you have one, because they don't quite understand the actual truth about ballistics. A 6-shot, regardless of charge, if it is pushed out of the muzzle at the same speed, regardless of caliber, will decelerate at the same rate. Meaning, at 40 meters, a 23 gram 28 bore will be just as potent as a 23 gram 20 bore, and if it existed, a 23 gram 12 bore, because if they're all going at 1400 feet per second and they were all choked accordingly to get the pattern the same, they would be more or less identical results. Recoil would be different, gun would be different, and there would of course be some other bits. However, the killing power down the other end, the delivered energy of the pellet would be much the same. And as such, I've seen some absolutely brilliant birds shot with 28 bore. What you don't have is the density of pattern that you can achieve with a larger load in a larger caliber, and that is where it is let down on your super high birds, or you know, even your over average pheasants. You can actually end up tickling, and second barrel kills become more of a thing. However, for anything inside of 30 meters, it's coming down stone dead, because ballistically you are pretty perfect. Alright, so that's pretty much everything I have here today. We're about to go out and shoot it, and we're going to chuck some 21 grams through a full choke and see what happens.
Don't get the cow.
Don't get the cow,
right,
because people complain about the safe backstop that is the cow.
Right.
And obviously,
you want the cow's privacy.
we like the cow. The cow is like a good old friend. To further prove the point of the 28 bore's efficacy, I've got these loads. I thought we were going to put a heavy load through, but actually we're going to go for the 3/4 ounce, 21 grams of 6, a nice lightweight load. We're putting it through a full choke, you know, so something a little bit meaty, and we stood 45 yards from a target. So without further ado, we're going to shoot dead square on that pattern, and we're going to see is it capable of shooting a 45-yard pheasant. Yeah, it doesn't like that very much, did it? No. This is the problem we're having. As if we couldn't have asked for more. There is an outlying problem with 28 bores, but certain guns, well, not just 28 bores, but certain guns, their actions don't operate too well on the smaller gauges. They're a 12 bore action that's designed and kind of scaled down, and some of those just don't like it. Beretta is the case in point that if you buy a Beretta small bore, especially 28 bore and usually 20 bore, you're destined to have a few issues. So let's go check the target. So as you can see from all these tiny little shot marks, little bits of number 6 shot, pretty much covering the majority of this metre squared piece of paper, probably a little bit more than a metre squared, probably 4 foot square. The pattern is tight enough to kill a pheasant stone dead at 45 yards with a 3/4 ounce load of 6s. Now imagine you can put an ounce of 5 through this thing, now you've got some power. So you're at 0 disadvantage to breaking clays and killing pheasants with an ounce load through this thing. You know, all the power, minimal recoil. I mean, how can 28 bore be a bad thing? Apart from the fact that cartridges are so expensive. So, with pellet density pretty much at 12 bore standards, just we were using a tighter choke, penetration being pretty much 12 bore standards, and let's say killing power pretty much at 12 bore standards at centre pattern, I think we've just shown that a 28 bore is almost perfect for your average bird. Gun weight can be considerably less, recoil be considerably less, and actually, why not give one a go? Yes, a 12 bore will be better at killing purely because you can put more stuff inside it. You know, a 32 gram load is always going to be better at killing than a 21 gram load. That's pretty much guaranteed. However, get behind a 28 bore, mate. Try it. See what you think. I'm sure you'll be as in love as I am. Many thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and we'll see you next time.